Hello, OSI community. So I was able to get Bonnie, she agreed to come on and do a quick call with me. So I just wanted to, just to kind of clear it up, Bonnie had put out I guess, complimentary of sorts, right? You're offering to small business owners to do a 30-minute strategy session if they're in the need of that right now. And so I saw that post and I figured, hey, let's do a quick call and maybe we can kind of explain to this little community group that I've built, small business owners, what that would maybe look like. So I'm going to hand it over to you if you kind of want to just do a little intro for yourself and tell us a bit about brand and banter.
Well, um, I'm Bonnie, and I founded a marketing agency called Banter, and I am I guess, passionate about helping small and medium-sized business owners grow their companies. And for the last couple of years, I sort of play the role of like a business fairy godmother in some sense, and help people try to connect their business goals to actually implementing and helping them with the how that's going to happen in their business.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been really cool for me to sort of have lots of questions and conversations happening um, around how to pivot your business to be in more of a digital space in light of the coronavirus and the COVID-19 sort of happenings. But in reality, it doesn't actually change that much of what I do for people, because I've been sort of banging that drum for a long time about how to um, make your business, build relationships with people and your audience more digitally, and take those relationships online and duplicate yourself. And so, now those conversations are not becoming I think I should do this, but it's an actual necessity for people to pivot in their business in a way that they, had the luxury of maybe putting off in the past.
Mm-hmm.
So in a lot of ways, I feel like the conversation is really heating up because it's essential now. And I really want to do whatever I can to help business owners transition in this time. I mean, without small business owners, we really lose our sense of community, right? And I think there's a big fear too of what transitioning online means for transitioning your community, because we're not, hanging out in our storefronts the way
Exactly.
we would have, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
how do you build relationships, and how do you stay profitable in a time like this? And how do you, I guess, where do you invest in your time and money to help transition and grow your business right now? So I'm really excited about all those things, although they're questions that I help business owners with when times are good too. So helping a pandemic marketing expert for sure. Like, there's no such thing. This is something that no one's ever lived through before, but I think the principles are the same. And if nothing else, people are more online than they've ever been because they're bored as heck. And we all want to get back to our lives, right? So how we can service our audience and our clients by transitioning really serves them too. And I'm excited about that.
Very cool. Very cool. So do you have like a list of questions that you would maybe, if a business owner was to call you for this 30-minute strategy, do you have like, or do you just kind of open up the conversation and
I do like to open up the conversation, and you probably know this about me, is that I don't like to, I mean, yes, I have some things that I always ask, but I find that a lot of times these conversations happen really organically because everybody's business is different and
Mhm.
people's audiences are different. So, if you're a physiotherapist and you literally cannot practice with people right now, what you're going to need to do is going to look very different than, for example, if you're selling a product that could be delivered curbside, and you just need to do it in a different way. So, the strategies and tactics that have to happen for those two different types of businesses are wildly different. And so instead of me, putting out a very generalized like cheat sheet, which I'm so impressed with how many people are offering free resources, and that's amazing. But I think what often comes with that is a sense of overwhelm of like, how does this apply to me? And so the value that I can bring right now is helping people, I think, sift through a place to start and figure out what resources are actually relevant to their type of business. Um, Before we hopped on this call, you and I had chatted briefly about sort of what does marketing even mean and look like. And I was like, well, it kind of depends on what your business plan is. And I think one of the key things to sort of remind people of right now is that a lot of small business owners, like just depending on what sort of industry they work in, sometimes they just get going in business and they never really had a business plan or a marketing plan or a strategy behind it. They just had a service that they kept offering, and they just grew.
Yeah.
And in this stage, when it comes to really being intentional about your resources, because a lot of people are strapped, and you have to be more creative, you have to sort of work your way backwards to your business plan and say, like, you know, how am I going to monetize myself and my business in a digital landscape? How am I going to make that business plan profitable?
Hmm.
How am I going to actually add value to my clients? And then once you understand your business plan and your offering, which is really important because that's probably going to change for a lot of businesses, then you can look at marketing strategies and how do you build relationships with that audience and stay in front of them and service them in a way that truly adds value to your client. Um, but it starts with that business plan and understanding, you know, how can you actually have an offering or a service or a package or whatever you want to call that,
Hmm.
and make the math work, make those business plan math numbers work, which is, I think, something that you see a lot of from a bookkeeping side of things,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You're helping people understand, like, where are they making profit in their business, where are they losing money. And I think, you know, when you can consult with people like Koren and find out, okay, what has been profitable in my business, how can I transition that digitally, or where is there an area of opportunity, and then taking that and mashing it with like a really good strategy to exploit that digitally, you get
Hmm.
like a fire combination and you're able to implement marketing strategies downstream. But you really have to have an understanding of, like, you know, being able to tie yourself through this time is also about being profitable too, and that matters, right? You don't want to
Yeah.
take a
Yeah.
losing offer and throw an investment behind it, right?
Yeah. I
So
relate when we were talking earlier too, like I really what you said in regards to the business plan and just like knowing your who and your why, right? Like, I
yeah,
mean, I didn't really have an idea of ideal client before you and I started chatting a couple of years ago. And I mean, it's such an important, so even if you want to maybe just speak quickly to ideal
yeah,
client.
that's a really valid point. And I often kind of overlook it because it's sort of second nature for me,
Mm.
because when you have a storefront, I talk to business owners all the time and I'm like, well, who's your most profitable client? And they're like, I don't know. Because people just come in here because they
Yeah.
need what I have. And so they don't really have an understanding, or they might give me like really general things. But the thing when you're trying to transition digitally is that you're not able to show up as a human in front of that other human 3 feet away anymore, not even sometimes 6 feet away anymore. um, right? You have to
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
take that magic and speak their language in text and images and on the right platforms at the right time. And you know, all those things are like big data. And some of it is trial and error too, but there's usually pretty good benchmarks to know what works for different industries if you really understand the client demographics and psychographics, like their behaviors,
Yeah.
before you get going. And so knowing who you like to work with, who you can add the most value to, who is a profitable client, helps you to say, okay, now that I know who I'm talking to, this is the type of offering or package or service or product that is going to be most relevant to them. This is where I need to position it in the market and do
Hmm.
your marketing downstream. So that who is really important. And sometimes people will say, oh, but Bonnie, like everyone can buy my product. I can sell to everyone. And I'm like, okay, but if you're speaking to everyone all the time, you're not going to stand out because
Yeah.
they're going to really connect with what you're saying if you're speaking in generalities all the time. So you
Hmm.
really want to be able to, the way that you tailor your conversation when someone is 3 feet in front of you, you're not talking to a crowd, you're talking to a person. And marketing should feel like that. It should feel personal. And when it's effective, that's what it's doing. And so we want to be able to take that mentality, those magical things that make you guys great entrepreneurs when those people are in your storefronts, and be able to transition that and connect with those people in that same way in a digital space. And it first starts with knowing who you're talking to.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people get lost on that. And it really helps if you like have a picture of, you're like, well, this is like Cindy, and she's, you know, a mom of two, and she's 45, and she's really busy. And like, you know, if she was standing in front of me, this is what I would say.
Yeah.
And a lot of like developing social media content, or even like understanding like how you're going to package offerings or products or
Hmm.
services to that person, is understanding, oh yeah, Cindy, this wouldn't even make sense for her, but because of this, and this, like this is what she really needs.
Yeah.
And if you were here in front of me, I'd be like, oh yeah, like this is what you need. And you wouldn't even think twice about it, because as a business owner, you're just serving that person in front of you. And so people often get that like marketing block or that content block when they don't have that connection. And sometimes you will have more than one kind of audience. You might have more than one Cindy. You might have Cindy, and you might have Jim, and you might have, you know, and that's okay too.
Hmm.
But making content and offerings that are really relevant to those people will help you to not only get out of your writer's block and your content block, but help you to serve them better. And they're going to feel connected to you and build a long-term relationship with you. And that's really important.
Love it. Yeah, it's been a interesting journey for me, as you know, with my ideal client. But I am totally seeing the power in it. That is for sure.
I mean, even in my own business, I mean, I've been incorporated for just over 2 years now, and you know, it's a journey of self-discovery as much as it is anything else, because you know, I do the same thing as other, like I'm not exempt from this, where
Hmm.
I have people that come to me and they say, Bonnie, can you help me? And of course I want to help everybody. But there's certain types of businesses and types of clients that I'm better at working with, or that I just enjoy working with more,
Hmm.
or that I'm better positioned to serve. And that's okay. It's really, it's okay. Like everybody has their circle of friends where you have like your besties and you have
Yeah.
acquaintances, and sometimes you use them for different things. And I think that's okay, because you want to love what you do too, and
Hmm.
really connect with those people that make you feel like, you know, you're happiest as a business owner when you're making other people, aka your clients, the happiest. And when you have that magical partnership with the right people, it makes everybody love what they do that much more. So
Agreed. Agreed. Very much.
yeah.
Oh, I love it. I think so. I don't want to have the videos too long here, but I was hoping you could maybe speak a little bit about ad spend too right now.
Yeah.
You want
So
to touch on that?
I mean, like maybe like a couple of, one of the things that I didn't address that you asked me, I'll answer first and then I'll
Okay.
flow with that, which is the questions that if we were on a strategy call that I
Mhm.
would talk to a business owner about. So the first one was just like, do you have an understanding of your business plan, offering, audience? Like, how do those things fit together? Or do you need to like kind of clarify that? Because that's a foundational piece. The next piece that sits on top of that would be, okay, now that you have clarified sort of your offering, your audience, or like your most important segments in this transition right now, because you're probably not going to have 10 of them. You might have one, two, three, four of them, and need to make specific strategies around those. But let's say you have one and you kind of know what that is. The next layer on top of it is sort of saying, okay, well, now that you kind of know your client and your offering, or we have some clarity around that, how are you best going to reach them in this digital space? Is it on a website? Are they searching for you already? What social platforms are they on? In other words, how are you going to get the opportunity to meet them?
Yeah.
Like, what's your virtual business mixer, or your storefront digitally going to look like? And so from that, and every business is going to look a little different, right?
Hmm.
Um, but from that, then you can say, okay, well, now that I know where my audience is living and what platforms they're on, um, we can talk about where we're going to spend our advertising dollars if we're going to invest in that. And it's been really interesting for me, sort of uh, talking with other marketers right now, because ad spend has massively decreased, or I should say CPMs, or cost per thousand impressions, as we say in marketing.
Hmm.
It's basically sort of getting an idea of how much it costs to get your message in front of people. And because a lot of advertisers are pulling out right now, just like people are pulling out of the stock market because it's fell, um, or just uncertainty in the market, it's created, it's sort of a, like ad inventory is like supply and demand. So
Hmm.
when people pull out of the market, and there's less demand, the price goes down, just like in all of these other commodities that we see. So right now, we have a massive decrease happening in our cost to advertise, which is really cool, for somebody who can make the investment and understand how to build on that foundation that we talked about of their audience and knowing their platforms that make sense. Getting eyeballs in front of that and building those relationships, the cost to do that is a lot cheaper than it maybe would be otherwise. And so if you're in a position where you're building an audience right now, or building a following, or building a client base, your cost to acquire those eyeballs and build those relationships from an advertising spend perspective is going to be less than it would ordinarily be. So it can be a really great time to double down and invest in your business, so long as you have like those foundational pieces in place,
Mm-hmm.
which is really exciting for people who are in a position to do that. And a lot of my clients are actually in a position where they're saying, hey, like, we know we need to keep the economy going. We want to still serve people, and
Yeah.
people want to be served. Like, at the end of the day, we're all at home, and we all want to keep shopping. We all want to keep going about our regular lives and normalize this thing that sucks as much as we can, and try to get on with as much of our normal life as we can. So it's really an opportunity to serve our clients too, instead of saying, hey, we're going to retreat, just to show up for them, because they want to, they want to interact with us the way that in most normal ways they possibly can right now. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
But for some business owners, I recognize that might be a whole change in business model. So for example, if you're a physiotherapist and you just can't see people, then that's where going back to that business plan and saying, okay, what kind of an offering can I make to try to tie myself through this time? Like, can I provide online sessions? Can
Mm-hmm.
I provide online courses? Is there resources that I can develop for people that I can monetize to serve them in a different way that I couldn't before? And that might be back to the drawing board kind of thing, or people in food and beverage. Same thing, like, you're going to have to go back to that business plan and be really innovative of how to create that offering and get it in front of your audience. So sometimes the foundation pieces need work right now.
Mm-hmm.
For some people, that those things aren't going to change. Like, for you as a bookkeeper, what's really cool is that, although right now it's probably not people's first priority, doesn't matter how long this thing happens, we're all going to still need to manage our finances. We're all going to still need to understand what's happening in our businesses, and having someone like you on their team is really important. And
Mm-hmm.
the way that you work with clients, you might not be able to drop by their business the way that you used to, but you still get to consult with them in the same way. So your business model doesn't have to change that much. You just have to sort of like follow through with maybe more elevated steps, creating it in a more digital space. So I appreciate that from a strategy perspective. Sometimes people are just at a loss at the very foundational step of like, how do I take what I'm doing and make it digital if it's really not digital at all? And
Yeah.
the whole spectrum of someone like you or me who already does a lot of our work digitally to begin with.
Yeah.
Um, so I appreciate those challenges and everyone on the spectrum. And if I can help people have, create ideas and brainstorming around that foundation of how to pivot and then build on top of that, I'm happy to do whatever I can to.
That's awesome. I really encourage our viewers too that, Bonnie, I'm very thankful that I have Bonnie in my life, and we've had a lot of strategy sessions, and it's been, I've really seen the benefit of it. So, I mean, feel free to reach out. This isn't gonna last forever.
No, I know. And I mean, I feel like it's really important because, um, you know, there's going to be people on all parts of the spectrum. And this isn't like a sales pitch at all. This is really meant to be a strategy call, to just show up for people right now.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people are not going to be in a position to invest, or maybe wouldn't be great clients for me anyways. And I still want to be able to add value to the community in whatever way that I can, because I don't want to see our communities without this like lifeblood of small business owners, which is what makes our community vibrant and attractive to begin with. So that being said, a lot of people aren't going to be able to afford to hire somebody to like build them a website or do their ads for them, or you know what I mean? And
Mm-hmm.
so, if I can do anything in this time, is to point people to tools of how they can DIY it until they make it over that hump, and they may never choose to want to hire someone, and that's okay. There's so much that you can do to be empowered to build your business without having to like spend money and have an expert do it for you. Just showing up for your business and not giving up is the most important thing for everyone right now. And like I said, I just want to be able to give people tools to be able to do that for themselves.
That's awesome. That's amazing. Well, thank you. And thank you for taking the time to do this video with me. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Okay, well, I'm going to turn the video off here, and yeah, I will put a link to your, maybe that Calendly link that you put up on your post yesterday. I'll just drop that on this as well for people to reach out if they want. So
Anytime. Anytime.
awesome. Thanks, Bonnie.